When's the big day, Simon? Next week?
What big day?
Birthday.
Oh, I don't know what day it is today. Hold on.
13th?
What day is it in Indiana?
I don't know what my own name is sometimes, dude. Seriously. What day is today? The 14th?
It's the 14th.
So it's two Mondays from now.
Nice that we're all watching this.
It is entertaining.
Why is this being recorded?
Why not?
Gag reel.
curious.
They're going to play it in the background during the Daf.
During the last seam of the Daf cycle, we're gonna have all the gag reels.
Us.
I can picture
play
the
that-
soundtrack.
Yeah, we're gonna play the Benny Hill sound. So Yaakov's gonna be running around trying to find a cell phone reception.
In the golf cart in camp. He's got to go left and then he's got to go right.
Do you guys hear me? Do you hear me now? How about now?
See,
Andy's
Yago,
on
you
mute.
muted.
It's only been 2 years. But okay.
I keep trying to start. I'm wondering why nobody's listening to me.
We're wondering why we're being recorded.
It didn't come as a surprise to me that nobody listened to me. That's I guess I was just rolling with it until the island was ready to go.
What do you think about the Benny Hill music at the end, though? We do a bloopers reel.
That sounds good to me. Yeah, okay, we ready to go? Fine. So on the bottom of what is it? Vav base. Yeah. So we have it. So we're talking about where the minimum amount we had yesterday, Machlokes, whether the minimum amount of sukka is 3 walls and a tefach, or 2 walls and a tefach. All right. So where are we putting that tefach? Why is the tefach? Where are we putting the tefach? Like Rashi, the picture in the Rashi. You put it on that next to the one that goes outside. Right? So you make it sort of like endachaf, chaf sofit, however you want to call it. Amalei Rav Kana, Ravasi Rav, so Rav Kana and Ravasi said to Rav, V'yamitenu keneged roish tor, right? Which I wouldn't have touched it the way, look at the Rashi. Put it neged the head of the line. That's the literal translation. Put it opposite the head of the line. So what that means is that you take it on a diagonal. And Rashi says the reason why doing it on a diagonal would be better. Can you just make up your mind? Hold on a second. I'm sorry. So put it on a diagonal like this. At least it looks like there's 4 walls, not 3 walls, right? Because if it's on a diagonal, at least it's covered on 3 sides. So
Triangle.
It's like a triangle, yeah. So it means there's some coverage on all 3 sides. 4 sides, actually. Sorry, 4 sides. Yeah. So then as Gemara answers, Gemara doesn't answer. It just says Shasik Rav. Rav was quiet, which is a Machlokes. Exactly what does Shasik Rav mean? Was he quiet? Kashtika kaida, right? If you're quiet, that means he was maida, that's the way it should be. Or no, he was quiet because he's ignoring them. Fine. Itmar nami Amar Shmuel Mishmeit Levi Mamida Keneged Hayotze, like the first pshat, right? Like Rav's pshat, that you put it next to the Yotze. And then the Besmer is just the way they learned it. You put it neged the Yotze. Okay, fine. Now we have 2 other ways. Simon Vitem Rabbi Shimon Levi Amar Isolate tefach seichik Mamida Papas and Shoshet Fachim Samach L'Tavim. What you do is you take a tefach seichik, which if the island remembers from Erevin, that's a tefach that's tight. I don't know if you can see my hands or not. It's not a tefach. I'm sorry, it's not a tefach that's tight. It's a loose tefach, which makes it a little bigger, and you put it within 3 tefachim of the other walls. Right now, what is that going to do for you? That's going to give you a majority, because what you need is a wall needs to be 7 tefachim long. So if you take a loose tefach and you put it within 3 tefachim, which is lavud, So you look at that like it's enclosed. So that will give you 4, which is the majority of 7, and then that third wall gives you a majority. Right? So that's how we're saying. Again, Rav Simon v'Yitem Rav Yeshua ben Levi Aimer. You put it less than 3 tefachim close to the wall. It's like loved, and it's if it's enclosed, and therefore you have a majority of that wall. If you have a sukkah that's made like a mavui, it's kosher. Right? Meaning a mavui means a road. A straight road is a mavui. So we're talking about where there. Till now we've been talking about walls on a right angle. Now this is talking about walls that are parallel to each other, right? So okay, so but you need that third wall. Where's your third wall? Again, you have one wall here, right? And you got to where your third wall. So where's your third wall? And that extra tefach you can put whichever side you want, on either open side of the mavui. Yeah, fine. Rav Simon v'Yitem Rav Yeshua Levi Amar, again the same mandomer as before. I still like pas arba umashu. You take a board 4 tefachim and change. Umamida bepachas mishloisha samach l'dayfin, and you put it within 3 to the wall. B'chol pachas mishloisha samach l'dayfin k'lava dami. It's like love. So basically, we had 2 scenarios here. We had a sukkah that's L-shaped or a 90-degree angle, and there the first mandomer said you could put the extra tefach on whichever end you want, and Rav Simon said, "B'shem Rav Yeshua," or some say Rav Yeshua Levi said, "No, that's not good enough. That one that's tefach, you have to put it within 3 tefachim of the wall, right? And then you have the sukkah that's made like a mavui, which is 2 walls on opposite sides of each other, parallel to each other. The first mandomer says just put the tefach on either end, whichever end you want, right? And the second mandomer says, Reb Simon or Reb Shmuel Levi says, no, you need to have a board 4 tefachim wide, put it within 3 tefachim. Yeah. So now the Gemara says, "Umayshna hasam dekamer sagi tefach soichik." How come in the L-shaped sukkah, he said that you need just a tefach that's a little bit more than the regular standard tefach? Umayshna hacha, and how come by the parallel walls, the kamer by pas arba? How come he says there you need a board that's 4 wide? What's the difference? They're both talking about the third wall of the sukkah. Again, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi or Rav Simon said that by the L-shaped sukkah, you need a tefach slightly bigger, and then you put it within 3 tefachim. And then by the parallel sukkah, he says you need a board of 4 within 3 tefachim. Why is he more machmir by that one, by the one that's parallel? So the Gemara answers, there where you have 2 kosher walls, meaning in an L shape, sagile b'tefach soichik, then that's enough to just add on a tefach soichik 3 tefachim away from the wall. But you don't have 2 kosher walls because one is opposite the other. They're not L shaped, so you haven't even began to have a normal sukkah, right? So therefore you need something. If you have a board that's 4, then that's good, and if not. Fine. So that's that Machlokes. Then Rava comes with a chiddush, and we're gonna have 3 versions of Rava. Amar Rava, we only will allow this tefach is only going to be mutter if you also make a tzuras of pesach. Now, tzuras of pesach is you take a lechi and another lechi, and you put something on top of it. Meaning, so this that you're taking the tefach and moving it away, that's only if there's a board on top also. So it looks like a pesach. Ikadamri. Omar Rava, Viniteres Nami B'tzuras of Pesach. Rava, the second shita, the first one is that you have to have a tzuras of Pesach. And the second one is that it could be with also, meaning you have another option of tzuras of Pesach. Right? And you don't need anything the size of a tefach. Remember from Erevin, a lechi on a tzuras of Pesach has no minimum measurement. It's anything. Any amount is enough. Right? So here he's saying the second version of Rava is saying that if you can just use the tzuras of Pesach, in which case you don't need a tefach thick wall. The first version is that you need a tefach wall plus a tzuras of Pesach on top of it. Second version is that no, you can have either a tefach or a tzuras of Pesach, in which case you don't need a wall even that's a tefach wide. And then the third shot is Ikatami Avarov, B'tzricha Nami Tzuras HaPesach. Right? It also needs, I'm sorry, it also needs Tzuras HaPesach. I'm sorry, I explained the first shita wrong. The first shita is it only works with Tzuras HaPesach, not with one tefach. The second shita is it can, you have an option for one or the other. And the third shita is that it needs both. It needs a tzuras hapesach and a tefach. Yes? Because those are the three shitas, three different versions of what Rava said. Each one obviously having a major difference in halacha. Right? Rav Ashi, Ashkel Rav Kahana, the Ka'avet tefach seichel. Rav Ashi found that Rav Kahana was using a tefach seichel, the Ka'avet tzuras hapesach, and he also made a tzuras hapesach. So Amalei told him, you don't hold a Rava who says that you could also use a tzuras hapesach. It doesn't have to be a tzuras hapesach, but it can also be. It doesn't need both. Amalei, anakidach lishna the Rava skiruli. I go with the other version of Rava. The Amar Rava b'tzricha nami tzuras hapesach, and it needs an additional tzuras hapesach. Again, just to go over it again. If you need a tzuras hapesach, then you don't need to have any minimum thickness of wall. As long as you have a wire going across the top of these two additions as your third wall, that's enough. If you hold that you need a tefach, then you need a tefach, obviously, and tzuras hapesach is not going to work. And if you hold you need both, that means you need to have a tzuras hapesach together with lechis that are wider than a tefach, or at least each one a half a tefach, so that you have both a tefach wall and the tzuras hapesach. Yeah. Fine. Then the Gemara says Shtayim Kil Chasam. So now the Gemara has a very, very interesting thing. So we know that Benegeya, we have certain halachas to matter kulas to make erevin, and we have certain kulas to make sukka, and they don't necessarily apply. Like we said on Beis on Beis, right? We said that sometimes sukkah is more chamer because it's deraisa, but then you have sometimes Shabbos is more chamer because Shabbos is a chi of kares, and sukkah is obviously not. It's a mitzvah. But whatever it is, there are kulas by Shabbos and there are kulas by Sukkah. So the Gemara is going to say now that when you're going to be matter one, it's automatically going to be matter the other one. For example, let's see, Amar Rava, V'chein l'Shabbos. Same thing for Shabbos. Migu da'avi doifen leniencies Sukkah, havi doifen leniencies Shabbos. Since it's considered a wall for Sukkah, it's also considered a wall for Shabbos. Meaning, normally an Eruv cannot work with one tefach. It's not enough. You need a tzuras hapesach, right? At least that. So the Gemara is saying, no, but on Sukkah, since Sukkah is enough with the tefach, so since it works for Sukkah, it's also going to work for Shabbos on Sukkos, right? And it's going to allow you to carry inside this Sukkah. Because what comes out, if you don't say this, what comes out, an interesting thing, comes out that the Sukkah is a kosher Sukkah, but you're not allowed to carry in it, right? Because the third wall works for Sukkah purposes, does not work for Shabbos purposes. So
why does it have
saying,
to be Rosh Hashanah? Why does
what?
Who says the din? Who said the din of Sukkah has to be Rosh Hashanah?
So that's a big Machlokes. Whether what are we being matir? Are we being matir even the rises of Shabbos, only the rabbanans of Shabbos, right? So
if we're only being matir the rabbanans, when would I'm saying what would be you can't carry?
No, we're saying that we're going to be matir you if it's in Rosh Hashanah, we're going to allow you to carry it there.
So that's isn't that being matir?
No, whichever you're going to be matir, you're being matir and agav the sukkah. Whatever since the sukkah is kosher, therefore you let it carry in there too. That's the chiddush, but only the Shabbos of Sukkos. That's it. Once Shabbos is after Sukkos, then you can't. Long
Parallel wall.
Yeah. The middle's going to be share. So you're going to come back in before mine. No, thanks.
And would that be all these cases, like even the two parallel walls with like the small tefach wall? Because then we say in Aaron that it's not good if they're two walls opposite each other.
What do you mean? For Eruv?
Yeah, in terms of
Right. So Enochanami. So here, whichever way you're going to be matter the sukkah, you're going to also be matter the Eruv.
and so you don't need any additional like
Correct. You'll need nothing.
Hierarchy.
Correct. But only for the Shabbos of Sukkos. Because how can you be matter the sukkah, not matter the carry? Right? That's the Gemara saying now. So Gemara, the Abai is going to ask on this. Esve Abaya, migo. Do we say migo? Migo here just literally means since. Since the sukkah is kosher, For a sukkah, it's also kosher to carry there on Shabbos. The wall of a sukkah has the same din as a wall for Shabbos. As long as there isn't as long as there isn't between each kana 3 tefachim. If the Olam remembers from Eruvin, so we said that when somebody's stuck like in a campsite for an Eruv, so what he could do is he could put up loved strings, right? Either horizontally or vertical. So even though there's a majority of space, and we know that normally Shabbos you need roiv mechitzas, but they made a kula for camping. Since it's loved, then it works. Yeah? So he's saying that the doif in sukkah and doif in Shabbos is the same, because it works the same way for a sukkah. The Yisera Shabbos al sukkah, but Shabbos is stronger than sukkah.
Can you repeat that? I don't understand what you just said.
Which part?
About the how that's applicable to what we're talking about now.
Can't hear what you're saying.
How that's applicable to what we're talking about now, about camping and this and that and love.
Meaning the Gemara in Eruvin says that if somebody's camping, the way you could set up an Eruv is you could put up a stick every 3 tefachim, so it's loved all the way around, and that works. Or you could take make a fence, but you don't need a fence. You just put a string horizontal, and then 3 tefachim above that another string, 3 tefachim above that another string, until you get 10 tefachim high. So that works for Shabbos and that works for Sukkah.
Okay.
Yeah, both of those work for Sukkah. In that sense, Sukkah and Shabbos are exactly the same. You could build a Sukkah that way. You could build a Eruv that way. But now the Gemara is going to say, but for Yisera Shabbos al Sukkah, Shabbos is stronger or more chomer than Sukkah. Shabbos ain't an iteres ela ba'amin ru'el paretz. Shabbos, you need to make sure that you have at least more wall than opening, right? But if you have more openings than walls, then that doesn't work. Meaning in Shabbos, if you have walls around your house, around your yard, so as long as the openings are less than 10 amas, that's considered like a door and it's fine. But that's all good if you have a couple of openings. But if your openings are going to make it that there's more openings than there is actually wall, then that's no good for Shabbos, right? But by Sukkah, it works because we know that a Sukkah is 2 walls and the third wall is very little, right? So you see that you could have a Sukkah that's totally, there's more space than actual wall and it's still going to be kosher. So in that way, Shabbos is more chomer. So now, what does he mean by Shabbos is more chomer than Sukkah? My love, you say, what? Yeah? Okay, so Gemara said, "My love, you say to Shabbos to Sukkah, v'lo yamrid amigu." Doesn't the Gemara mean that Shabbos of Sukkos is more chomer, and it'll work? It won't work for Shabbos, but it'll work for Sukkah. And you don't say migu that since the Sukkah is kosher for Sukkah, so therefore it's also kosher for Shabbos, and we're not saying that. So the Gemara answers, no, he means lo yisera Shabbos da alma al Shabbos sukkah. He means no. A regular Shabbos is more chomer than the sukkah. But the sukkah, the Shabbos of Sukkos, there we're going to allow you to carry, even though the mechitza is only kosher for sukkah and not kosher for Shabbos. So the Gemara says if that's the case,
how is it that we're there's 2 deraisas here and we're still going lakula on a Shabbos?
Oh, so we said that's a Machlokes Rishonim, whether this migu is matering a deraisa or derabana. Yes, some Rishonim say that it's coming to be mater even deraisas, which is shver.
It's
which
fair,
is your kasha is a strong kasha.
But then
if you say it's coming to be mater derabanans, then it's okay.
That's fine because we always go lakula with derabanans, but deraisa obviously not. But then how do they? Maybe this is off target or whatever. But how do they clear that up then? How would they matter carrying by Sukkah Shabbos then? Or is
because it's migu since the Sukkah is kosher for the Sukkah, therefore it's kosher.
The Rishonim that say that it's a shver ma'isa. How would they say how to do it, or if it was mutter at all?
No, they're just saying that he means to matter it. He means to matter even deraisas. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Right. How does it work with the lumdus?
This really
And he
seems like
can't-
like picking and choosing, but like I don't know, it's something that doesn't make sense to me on this.
Enochanami. But it's schwer. It's schwer to be matter the rice. It's schwer. But that's what some of the most go with not like that. Most go not like that. Yeah. Okay. So whatever it is. So now the Gemara says ihachi. Right. Ihachi. Listening nami. If you're saying that it only means the Shabbos all year round and not the Shabbos of Sukkos, ihachi listening nami. You say sukkah to alma, sukkah to Shabbos. Why don't you say that there's another chumrah that the sukkah of all year round is more power than on sukkah of Shabbos. Sukkah da alma by tefach soichi. Sukkah da alma needs a loose tefach, right? Like we said on the top, you need the tefach to be loose. Sukkah da Shabbos loy by tefach soichi. You don't need a tefach soichi. You don't need a loose tefach. Pasagi lechi. You should be enough for the lechi. Da atu da amrit sikach lagabi mavui sheyesh lechi kosher. We're going to see this on the base. That we say that if you put schach on top of a lechi, all you have is a lechi. Right, like we discussed in the Daf base. If you have a courtyard, right, and the courtyard's open, so all you need to do is to be matter, not really the courtyard, but to matter the street, the dead end street, is just put a lechi at the end, right, and that works for Erev. So on the base, we're going to say that if you just put, since it works for Erev, you just put schach down on top of that dead end street. That's going to be enough to be matter carrying there. Sukkah, even though for a sukkah you don't have any walls, you just have the lechi. So he's saying, so you see that Shabbos, there would be other times that a sukkah would be kosher, even though from Shabbos, even on that Shabbos, even though the rest of the year it wouldn't. So that's what Gemara says. Sagi b'lechi, da'atu da'amrit, sikach lagabi mavui sheyesh loy lechi kosher. If you put schach on top of a lechi that's in a mavui, then it's going to be kosher. So why don't you add that? Where again, the Gemara just says, add this to the scenario where there's different levels of sukkah, meaning one on the all year round, one on Shabbos. When it answers like you don't need to say that. Hold on 1 second. This that we say that you can go from kula to a chumrah, right? Amrinan, right? There we say that you can say migu to take something that normally would be makel. We say that's going to be, you can do that. To go from a chumrah to a kula wouldn't be a kavah chaymer. What do you want to say?
What is this sukkah? It's one pole with a piece of skach on top. What?
Well, you got to be able to balance it on something else, right? Yeah, I imagine it's good.
That's what it is. It's one freestanding pole with a piece of skach on top of it.
But it can't be a freestanding pole. It has to be on something else, right?
I don't know. That's what.
Yeah, I figured it's got to have some walls to the street, but you're right. It has to be something like that. It has to be just like one pole. It certainly can't be a kosher sukkah. Otherwise, what's the chiddush?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, we'll see that case on Amud Beis in a minute.
Fine.
Either way, somebody else want to say something? Yeah, anyways, so what the Gemara is saying, which mekilta lechamirta amrina, if we go from makula, which is a sukkah, to Shabbos, we say if you're able to, a sukkah enables you to be matter Shabbos, so machmirta lekilta lekoshikin, to go from a chumrah to a kula, it's a kavah chaymer, that you're gonna be able to do that. All right, so therefore it doesn't have to be mentioned specifically that there's different scenarios. So basically what comes out, maskonas hadvarim, it's a little confusing. The maskonas hadvarim is that there's 3 different levels of sukkah and Shabbos. You have the sukkah on Shabbos, you have Shabbos on sukkah. A sukkah on Shabbos, which we normally matter things that you wouldn't be matter to carry in based on the sukkah. Sometimes you'll have Shabbos that matters you to use to make a kosher sukkah, even though normally you would not make a kosher sukkah. All right? And then you have your regular standard sukkah and regular standard Shabbos. Yeah, so let's see. Gufa, I'm a Rava on top of base now. Sikach agabi mavui sheyesh lechi kosher. If you do a schach on top of a mavui that has a lechi, then it's kosher. Right? Meaning basically, since that lechi is machshir you to carry for Shabbos, it's therefore that's going to be enough to consider it a wall for sukkah. Yeah, it has to be talking about where there's no other walls. I don't know exactly how this works, but that Rabbanan, that's what it has to be. Right?
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Okay, so for Amar Rava, I don't know. It's a kid. How about this next case? For Amar Rava, Sikach Agabi pasei after Mark. Yeah, Sikach Agabi pasei biraos. If you put schach on top of board, remember what the pasei biraos is? That when they needed to feed the animals, right? When they needed to feed the animals by the regalim. So how do you by the regalim? Yes, thank you. So how do you get the water out of the bar to the animals? There's no eruv. So what they do, they made a kula. If you look in the Rashi to the left, basically what they did is they took. We had this also on Daf Beis or Gimel, right? They took a tefach board on each corner, and that represented walls. So the Gemara is saying that Rava is saying that if you put schach on top of those walls, since it's kosher for carrying on Shabbos, it's also kosher for a sukkah.
How would you put?
Because you don't have any walls. You have no walls. What?
How would Mitzias wise? How would you put schach on something like this?
See, the first case, like Rabbanan saying, I don't know how you would do it, but this case is, they're all. Why can't you drape schach over all four of them? Right?
How would it stay up? Talking about corner posts.
It's an Akiva, look at the pictures. I posted some good pictures.
It's L-shaped.
Yeah, the art scroll's not helping over here.
Look at the pictures.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought you just draped the schach over all four of those posts. Stay on there.
Four L-shaped pieces.
Yeah, listen, you come up to the country, you look at our roofs, they stay on also it's a big chiddush how they stay on, so it's easy to understand. It's easy to understand how these stay on. It's a nace all the way around.
Aaron, the pictures that you posted are this is, I don't know, it's suspending the laws of gravity. It doesn't make sense how those pictures work, but okay.
Akiva, I can get you the guy's information. We can send them a.
He drew a picture
maybe.
with.
You could join his Zoom and ask on there.
I'm not the one posting the pictures.
Sometimes the picture is just a picture.
Yeah.
Avi, it's good to hear from you, Avi.
Okay, whatever it is. The tzrich and the Gemara says you need it. Mavui. How come you need all these cases to tell you that Shabbos, that Sukkah is going to be matter Shabbos, Shabbos is going to be matter Sukkah? So the Gemara is saying Mavui mishum diika shteit fanes ma'al yisa. A Mavui at least has two good walls, right? Meaning another have a Mavui, you need one good wall, two good walls, right? And you have one lechi hanging out on the other end. Right, Avagabi pasei biraos, but the lechi shteit fanes ma'al yisa. You don't even have two good walls. So I would say maybe that would not work as an eruv. And if you say pasei biraos, mishum deika sham arbat fanas, by the pasei biraos, or if you look in the Rashi, you have at least four walls. They're not kosher walls for a sukkah normally, but at least they represent four walls. Avasikach agabi mavui, the leka sham arbat fanas, but a sikach agabi mavui, that the reason for amas emaloi, so I'd say not. Fine. So those are the first two. Those are those last two cases. So how about the first case of sukkah with Shabbos? Because that's telling you that Shabbos, which is chomer because it's a chi of paras, will allow a sukkah, right? But to take a kula from sukkah to be matter chi of paras, right? Simon, this is what you're really asking. Amaloi, I would say that you can't do that. So tzricha, therefore you need it, right? Okay, so those are the cases of where we again take the kulas of Hilchos Shabbos and we'll be matter sukkahs with it, and we'll take the kulas of sukkah and we'll be matter Hilchos Shabbos with it. Fine. Then Gemara says, if there's more sun than shade, it's possible. So Tana Rabbanan. Meaning, if you're sitting in your sukkah, the sun has to be coming in because of the schach and not because of the walls. Meaning, if you have glass walls or see-through walls, and that's why it's more sunny in the sukkah, that's not an issue. It's only if it's more sunny in the sukkah because your schach, you're cheap on the schach. Rav Yoshi has a big chumrah. Even if there's too much sun coming in because of the walls, meaning your walls are see-through, then that's no good. Right? He's saying a big chumrah. It has to always have more shade than sun, even if it's coming from the wall. So Amar Rav Yemer Bar Shalmi Mishmei Dabai. In my time with Rav Yoshia, why does Rav Yoshia say his din?
According to this, windows are a problem?
Yes, according to Rav Yoshia, windows in the sukkah are a problem, 100%. Yes. We obviously don't paskin like him. We don't paskin like him, but yeah.
What size windows? What size windows?
As long as it would allow in more sun than shade into your. If you sit in your sukkah and it's sunnier than it is shade, according to Rav Yoshia, even if it's coming from the walls, it's possible.
Thanks to a shul being built right up to our house, we don't have that problem.
Correct. You don't have that issue, Doc.
But we don't paskin like that anyway.
Lucky us.
We don't paskin like it anyways. Correct. Yeah. So
We're
my
being
time with Rav Yoshia. Yeah, so where does Rabbi Yoshua get his din from? It says, and you put the paroiches as a sukka on top of the aron. Paroiches mechitza, the kokari rachmanas chacham. Paroiches really mechitza because the pasuk says, Rashi says, vivdilu a paroiches lachem, and the paroiches is separating it. It's called a paroiches, yet the Gemara refers to it as a sukka. So you see that a mechitza, which is what a wall is called a schach. Therefore, you need to have the same din as schach, that it has to have more shade than sun. Alma mechitza k'schach, therefore mechitza is like schach. Rabbanon, what do Rabbanon do with that pasuk? Udenecha beporta, the mechsi k'schach. There, he's saying that you have to fold over the edge of the paroiches, had to be folded over a little bit to make like an extra roof. That's what he held. The Gemara doesn't pursue why Rabbi Yoshia, what Rabbi Yoshia does with that, but that's what it is.
The paroiches on the paroiches in the Mishkan.
Yes.
Folded over?
Yes.
So this has nothing to do with sukkah, in their opinion.
Nothing to do what?
It's sukkah.
Nothing to do with sukkah. We're just trying to say a raya that a mechitza is called a sukkah. That's all the Gemara is trying to do. Okay, so then the Gemara says, Amar Abaya. So Abaya said, Rebbe.
So Yaakov.
Yes.
Rabbi Yoshia, how does he learn the regular pashut case of the chachamim? Two walls and a tefach.
Oh, very good.
So it's always going to have more sun than always.
Right.
Not possible.
Very good, Taka. I didn't think about that kasha. It's a good kasha, Taka. How does he learn that?
But it's in between two houses.
No, but that doesn't help.
Case is not in between two houses. A regular case.
No, but even if it is, it doesn't help. It has to have intrinsically in itself. It has to create. Not from an outer, not from a third party. Can't be a third party shade. It has to be shade from itself.
We pretend as if the houses are not there.
If you have 4 plexiglass,
right?
It's also.
According to Rabbi
Yoshia, yes.
According to Rabbi Yoshia, how does he learn pshat in the chachamim? 2 walls in the mashahu. It's all the wall. There's gonna be more sun than shade. Pashut. You don't need it to be.
Davi, according to Rabbi Yoshia, he passes a lot of the sukkahs we see today that are completely clear. Those fancy ones that they make.
Yeah, correct.
So how does he learn pshat in the chacham? I'm not asking him caution him from what we do.
How does he? What about a string all around, like you have that mechitza, like you did with Shabbos? You make those walls with string. That's obviously not a good sukkah.
What do you mean, the loved stuff?
String, you make it, or is it because there's a lot of sun coming in? It's just string.
You're right, and you're right. All those cases, Rabbi Yoshi would hold its puzzle. I don't know. I hear you, Kasha, about it. I'm not sure.
It'd be a case like a deck that you have nothing, no walls, just poles.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's see weiter.
What's the maskon of the Gemara and Chaf base? What does chamasam ruva mitzilas mean? Does it mean space or actual sunlight?
What's the difference?
If it means space, as long as you have roiv wall, you're good. It doesn't matter if it lets in sunlight. I don't care. Right. It means space in the schach. So here it would mean space in the wall. Doesn't matter how much sunlight it lets in.
Right. I hear you. I don't know. Not sure.
But that's not
I think it was even. No, the Mishnah, it's the same thing as the Mishnah. Tzilasim rum chamasam rum tzilasim. The Gemara has some chaf base is stira. Gemara ends up saying that if the schach is even, there's an exact even amount of schach and non-schach on the top. It ends up being kosher. You need mostly chamasa to be most space to be puzzle. So Rabbi Yoshua would hold the same with walls. You need walls on most of the. You need solid matter. It doesn't matter if there's sunlight. We don't care about the sunlight. We care about the actual schach, or in this case, walls.
Yeah. Okay, whatever it is. That's Enochanam. I don't know. We'll have to see then. But I hear you, Kasha. That's a good Kasha. Okay, let's see weiter. Somer Abaye. Rebbe, Reb Yoshia, Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon, Reb Gamliel, Reb Shammai, Reb Eliezer, B'Acherim, Kulu, Sviru, Sukka, Diras Keva, and they all hold Diras Keva. You need, right? Each one for their own way. Tosfos points out that it doesn't mean they all hold that it has to have the same sukkah requirements. They just all hold that you need to have a kavua dika sukkah, not a arai sukkah. But doesn't mean that one will say 4 amas, one will say this. They all have their own different measurements, but they're all going to hold. They're all going to hold that it's that it needs to be keva. And the Ran says that anytime the Gemara says kulu sviralu, that means we don't paskin that way. It's a fascinating Ran. Anytime the Gemara says kulu sviralu, we just went through. Some major players: Rebbe, Reb Yoshia, Reb Yehuda, Reb Shimon, Reb Gamliel, Beis Shammai. They all hold it. We don't go with it. Anytime that's like a code word, kulu sviralu means that we don't paskin like them. Yeah. Okay, Rebbe.
You have to say that the Chazon Ish paskin not like them.
We stand up when they walk into the room, but you don't paskin like them.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. What are you saying, Gershon?
Not only do we not paskin like them, but the Chazon Ish wasn't even chayshish for them.
What do you mean? Because correct. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. So Rebbe, how do you know Rebbe? The Tanya Rebbe, I'm a kol sukka shein ba'arba amas al arba amas psula. That's pashut. He holds it needs to be 4 by 4 amas. So therefore, it needs to be more of a kavua building. Less than 4 by 4 is not kavua. Rav Yoshia hadamorim. Rav Yoshia is what we just said, that you need to have walls, solid walls that give you shade. Rav Yehuda, that we all know from the first mission. You can't sukka shikavay l'malam mechaf am psula, and Rav Yehuda mashah. Right, so that clearly holds its kosher. Reb Shimon, the Tanya, basically chasam v'gimel afilu tefach. That's the Tanakama. But Reb Shimon, I'm a gimel chasam v'dalar afilu tefach. He holds you need 3 solid walls and the 4th even a tefach. So also he holds that you need a strong sukkah. Reb Gamliel, the Tanya, oises sukkah biraos ha'agala, biraos ha'sfina. If you make a sukkah on the top of a wagon or on top of a boat, Reb Gamliel plays Reb Kiva masha. Reb Gamliel says pasel, Reb Kiva says kosher. Now that's obviously not a permanent sukkah if it's on top of a camel or a sfina. Yeah, Reb Shammai, the time Isha Yirei Shabru b'sukkah b'shofar b'zech habayis, Beis Shammai plays mitzvah machshirin. Right, so Beis Shammai says it's pasel. Why? Because you need to have a sukkah that's big enough to hold the table. So that's kavua. Reb Eliezer the Tanan, ha'oises sukkah b'kimin tzrif. Reb Eliezer says if you make a sukkah like a teepee, right, like a hut or a tent. Or you just lean it on a wall, meaning you just lean the schach on a wall. We'll see this later. Rabbi Eliezer Paisel, it has no roof. Say that it's kosher. So you see Rabbi Eliezer holds that it needs to be more kavua. Acherim, the Tanya, Acherim, Ayrim Sukkah. So you psula. If you have a sukkah that's made like a chicken coop, it's pasel. If you shein, less obvious because it doesn't have any corners. Yeah. Fine. So that's how we know from all these things. I really would like to go because we're going to have a problem with Shabbos and Sunday with Tisha B'Av. So I think we should just try and do the next Amud, right? The Pi Amud now.
Who are the others in this? I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
Acherim is just the name of, usually it's Rameir, right? Acherim is a Rameir, yeah. Because we refer to them as Acherim. Yeah. Right, Tosfos says it right here that it's Rameir. Right, the bottom Tosfos.
It's funny Rameir learned from Acher too.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, so Amar Rav Yochanan.
Speaking of Tisha B'Av, what are we doing on Tisha B'Av?
We're going to do Motzei Tisha B'Av, but we have a problem with Shabbos.
Is that what we're doing, Motzei Shabbos?
No, so I would like to do another Amud now, and then tomorrow, as the Shem in person, do like a little more than a blot, and then on Friday, then we'll be at least covered for Shabbos, and then Sunday we'll do Sundays.
So, okay, so no Motzei Shabbos then.
Can't. You're not allowed to learn Motzei Shabbos.
I understand we can gamble also, but that's
gamble what?
Can we learn Sunday afternoon
or something? Oh, that's Christmas.
Yeah,
we learn Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. You're mixing it up.
I
What'd you
noticed.
say?
Peretz, have a drink. Peretz, drink something, will you?
What'd you say, Naftali?
Are you allowed to learn Sunday after Chatzos?
No.
No.
No. Okay. I asked. I just asked.
Jacob, I saw in your thing today.
Only if you're wearing bike shorts.
But Shabbos afternoon, can I learn we learned Daf Yomi?
Yes, you can. Yes,
Yeah?
you can. It says if you're going to sit around and do nothing else. I'm not saying you're going to sit around and do nothing else, but you know what I mean? I'm sure you're going to be, you got a whole stacked schedule. But
I'm saying, but we can have a Daf Yomi this year.
Some say not to do berabim. So
I already told my wife no walks.
there you go. I promise you, Aaron, if you have the Daf Yomi, you ain't going to Gehenna. I promise.
When they get up to that Avera, I'm okay.
Yes. Okay, so let's see. Some of Yochanan. Sukkah asuya kivshon. Now I don't know why the Gemara changes it, because the Gemara just said the same. It's a round sukkah. Before, it just 2 lines ago called it a shayvach, like a chicken coop. Here it's calling it a kivshon. Some of Yochanan. Sukkah asuya kivshon, like a oven, which is round. If you have in the circumference 24 men could sit in a circle, then it's kosher. And if not, then it's pasei. So Gemara says, who are you going with this opinion?
Because people don't do that with a chicken coop. They're giving you an example of something that they're trying to teach you something. And nobody does that with a chicken coop.
Okay, I hear. Fair enough. I hear that pshat. So Gemara says, Kiman. Who's that like? Rebbe? Are you going with Rebbe? The Amar whole sukkah shein ba'arba amas al arba amas psula. That any sukkah that's not 4 amas by 4 amas is pasel. Michti gavra ba'amsa yosef. A person, as we know from the shir of a mikvah, is an amma by an amma. Right? So he's the width of an amma. That means that there's 24 amas in the circumference. And we know pi, this is the ratio of pi, which is that going across, whatever amount it is going across, you're going to have to add on 3 times to that to make the circle. So so then if that's the case, 24, if you want to go 4 amas across, how many men would you need to go in the circle? 12. So why are you saying 24? Right, again, if you hold that a sukkah needs to be dalet amas, which is the minimum shear, right, of 4 amas. So that means to put a box, to take a square, 4 amas by 4 amas, right? So in order to go around it, you would need to add on 2/3 more. So if it's 4 across, to make a circle would be 12. So you need 12 men to go around in a circle, not 24. So why is the Gemara saying that you need 24? That's the Gemara's kasha. What answer is hani mili bi gula. That's if you want to make a circle, right? If you have a diameter, a radius of 4, and you want to make a circle around it, so you need 12. But here we're trying to make a square. So a square, I'll be rebuah by tefei. But if you're doing a square, you're going to need more than 1/3, more than 3.12, whatever it is. Okay, so I want to ask, michti. Let's see. Kama meruba yoser ala eagle ravia. So how much more is a square than a circle? It's a quarter more, 25% more. So it's just a sagi. So if you add on 25% to 12, that gives you a circumference of 16. So 16 people should be necessary, not 24. So
we had that equation already. In
yes, in Erevin. Yes, very good, Naftali. So the Gemara answers, that's if you're trying to take a circle and put it inside a square. But if you're trying to take a square, you see the 2 pictures there, you're trying to take a square and you're putting it inside a circle, then that's going to take a lot more on the circle. Because you need the where it sticks out, where the corners stick out. Right? So where the corners stick out, you're going to need more. Right? I was showing this Gemara to some of the some of the waiters here in camp who are not exactly success of the yeshivas. So I showed them, I said, you see this here? This is what the yeshiva system's trying to do to you. Take your square or take a circle and stick it inside a square. That's where the issue is. Okay, that's the only chiddush I could say on this stuff. That this stuff is the yeshiva system for a lot of the kids. Okay, I don't have an answer, but that's what it is. Anyway, so the Gemara says michti. So let's analyze this. Kol amsa biribua amsa v'trei chumsha ba'alachsoina. So if you're trying to make a square, right? So if the square is 4 amas across, then what's the diagonal meaning from the bottom left corner of the square to the top right corner? What's the equation? So it's 1 and 4 2/5, meaning if the length is 1 amma along the width of the square, if you want to go on a diagonal across the square, again from the bottom left to the top right, it's going to be 1 2/5, right? So b'shivsa nechi chumsha stag. So then it should be 17 minus the 5th. That's what should come out, should be the circumference, right? 17 minus a 5th, which is 16 4/5. So Gemara says, so then how do you get to 24 from that? 24 to 16 4/5. So Gemara says, light duck. We weren't careful. The Gemara is just rounding it off to 24. So Gemara says the obvious question. Light duck. When do you say that you're not meduyak? That's purta. That's by a small amount. Tuva mi amrinan. Light duck. Do we say light duck from 16 4/5 to 24 is almost 33% more of rounding off, right? Fine. So then the Gemara answers a different shot. No, your whole premise is off. Who says that a person sits with an amma? 3 men take up 2 ammas. So now you chop it down by 33%. So now that gets you 24. That we were saying it's 24 men in a circle. Now you knock it down to 16, right? Because 16 men will take up 4. How do you go? How does it go? 16. If the circle is 16, so a third of that is going to be a third of that.
24 people would fit in 16.
24 will fit into 16, right? And then a third of that is going to be, so what's that? Let's see the next time to Gemara. So kama havalu, how much do you have? So shitza, you have 16, right? Meaning the circumference is going to be 16 people. So we mean anan shivsa nechi chumsha b'ina. We said that it's 17 minus a 5th, right? Which means 16 4/5. So Gemara answers light duck. We weren't duck. With the obvious question, right? When do you say that you're not careful and we're not specific in the measurement? That's when you're going to go l'chumra. L'kula mi amrina loidak. L'kula do we say loidak? Meaning, it's one thing if the measurement comes out to 16 4/5 and you say 17, that's fine because at least you have a kosher sukka. But if your measurement comes out to 16 4/5 and you say that it's 16, then your sukkah is too small. It's very nice you wanted to round it off for simplicity's sake, but your sukkah lemaisa is too small, right? So that we slug that up. So now we're back that a person that goes with an amma. Rabbi Yochanan is not counting the men in the circle, meaning we keep assuming that the circle gets drawn around the outside, around the backs of the men. And no, we know that a man is an amma by an amma. So the circle is being drawn on the inside of the men, not on the outside of the men. Right? So therefore, and we know a man is an amma thick. So if you take 2 men down, so from each, so now what's going to happen is that circle is going to shrink from 8 down to 6. Yeah, so then Gemara says, okay, so kama havalu, timni 3. Because you're going to have, so it goes down to 6. That's going to get you 18, right? Because it's times 3. Timni 3, it's 18. So b'shivsar nechi chumsha sagi. So then it's enough with 16 4/5. So I know the loidak. So that's what it means that we weren't medayik. L'chumra loidak, and we would not. And it's l'chumra that we weren't medayik. So he adds on a slight amount to the sukkah, right? We go from 16 4/5 to 18. Yeah, fine. Rabbanan de Kesari, Ba'amri lo Dayani de Kesari, Amri, the Rabbanan of Kesari, and some say the Dayan of Kesari say, Igulo denafik mikal revua riva. If you're taking a circle and putting it into a square, that's going to be 25% less, right? And on top of it base now, rivua the nafik migayigula palga. But if you're trying to take a square and put it into a circle, then it's going to be, you're going to lose half the space, right? And memela, so what are you going to do? So you have 24, and then you put in, you're going to lose half. That will get you down to 12. The lechi, and the one says it's not true. We know that it's not that big a discrepancy. So since it's not that big a discrepancy, that can't possibly be correct. Okay, I'm sorry for the length. I hope it's semi-understandable.
Oh, yeah.
All right. A good night.
Oh, yeah. Good enough.
Night.
Have a good night. Mitchell, see you tomorrow.
Yeah. All right.